Good evening, welcome to the Sunday special edition of Last Bowl Boxing. Let's start with the pleasantries. So, joined by Orkan. Good evening, Orkan.
Good evening, Carl.
Daz, good evening, Daz.
Evening.
Brett, all the way from across the pond in America. Same thing as Canada.
Evening, boys.
And then we got, I'll refer to you as Darren. Good evening, Darren.
Good evening, Carl.
So, obviously, matchroom card last night. A lot to talk about. But first thing I'm going to talk about is something that didn't even happen. So, I don't really want to take this away first. When it eventually appears on screen, there we go. Michael Gomez Jr. and Reece Belletti. He wasn't happy, Reece wasn't, was he? Come on, DAZN. That was a bit of a mistake bringing him on here, I think. The amount of apologies people had to make. I'm going to come to Daz first from a coach perspective. He talked about etiquette in boxing, Daz, and some things that shouldn't happen. So I'm very keen to hear your thoughts on should Gomez Jr. just ploughed on?
No, mate. Not if what's been said's true, no. I mean, it's his health, innit? You know, how could he have, if he has got a kidney infection, no, shouldn't be getting it ring. He could have got hurt. However, you can't tell me that came on just as he were in dressing room. He must have had that from the morning of the fight, maybe the day before. You know what I mean? Listen, there's a lot of ways to look at it. I can understand Reece Belletti and what he was saying and why he was saying it. You know, he's had a 12-week camp, a torturous 12-week camp, and all by all accounts, according to Reece himself. And for that to happen, you know, it obviously deflating. Yeah, there are a few things floating around saying that they won't get paid. Reece will get paid. Reece should get paid because he's weighed in. Reece is weighed in. I mean, Michael's weighed in, obviously, but I'm not sure our matchroom will approach that, whether they'll give him expenses. I mean, Reece should get paid in full, to be fair. It's not Reece's fault. It's an hard one, really, because you know, listen, health comes first. You can't put anything above health. I get what Bellotti's saying. I mean, he put Bellew on spot a little bit as well when he said, look, as a fighter, what would you have done? Listen, I totally agree with him. I would have probably done that. I would have probably said, no, I'm all right, and gone in. And then afterwards, if you've lost, you know, look, I went in there with a kidney infection. He's got a very good team, Michael Gomez Jr. He's got a very, very good, he's got an excellent manager in Kev Marie. He's got a very, very good trainer in Michael Jennings. They've spotted something that he weren't right. Kevin Marie's insisted that he gets a full do-over with Doctor. He's done that. He's then deemed him not fit to fight. So that's sort of out of Michael Gomez's control. It's sort of on the manager and the trainer who have insisted on this physical examination. So, you know, yeah, I mean, the right thing to do with a kidney infection is not fight.
Yeah.
Had he had it the day before or the day of the weigh-in, he should have probably told his team. He should have informed his team. But maybe he thought he was just feeling a bit off it. And, you know, it was going to be all right. I mean, I know walking into the arena, Reece Belletti says, yeah, you look fine there. I mean, you know, he was just walking into arena. He weren't doing cartwheels and shadow boxing, were he? He was just coming in. It's just one of them. I think it's just an unfortunate incident, and I think maybe, and listen, I don't exactly know, obviously, but maybe Michael has tried to hide it from his team. Maybe he has tried to cover it up and still get ring. And then Kev, Marie and Michael Jennings, who know him really well, have noticed there's something wrong with him. He's not himself. They've insisted on the doctor. The doctor's come, done what he needed to do, and doctor said, no, he can't fight. So, listen, it's unfortunate, but you've got to put Elf first.
Yep. Okay, cheers, Daz. Coming on to Brett. Brett, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's right what Daz said there. DAZN, what were they expecting? You know, this man's built himself up. He's in the changing room thinking he's going to have a scrap, try and change his life, put on a statement, and then they put a camera in his face when, I mean, he must have been absolutely livid, because you're in that mindset, aren't you? You're ready to go to war. You're ready to go. You're ready to. It doesn't get talked about enough with the boxers, but they're putting their life on the line for entertainment. And so he knows that that's a possibility when he walks through those ropes. So the anxiety and the build up is all part of that. And then when he gets told, "Oh yeah, the fight's off," he's going to be livid. And I wouldn't have expected any other reaction than the one he gave. He was ready to go to war, and it got pulled from him. But it did make me think, because at first, you know, the typical thing is I want to see the fight. The typical thing is like he's saying he swallowed it and he's saying all these things. But it reminds me of the shot that Kell Brook took against Spence when it's running through his mind and he's been called a quitter and he's broke his other eye socket, and he was doing great against Spence, and at that time Spence was a killer, and then he's dropped to the knee and the whole country's turned on him for quitting. But the reality is he'd also been with a surgeon 8 months before when Golovkin did it to him, saying to him, "You could have lost your eye." So, you know, at the bottom line, we as fight fans, we want to see him fight. But if there is genuine concerns, you know, maybe Daz is right. Maybe Gomez was trying to hide it from his team because he wanted to go to war, and then someone's caught it at last minute and pulled him out. Who knows? But I can absolutely see it from both sides. Bellotti being fuming, and if Gomez is genuinely putting his health at risk by fighting, then fair enough. But you just hope, and I'll just finish with this, you just hope that the team could have caught it a bit sooner, because what do they always say? Fighters need saving from themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, cheers, Brett. Orkan, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this is just the bad luck that Matchroom has had this year. So this card was postponed for 2 months, and then this card, and they had a bad luck with the Ellis Gopney fight. So just bad luck for Matchroom for this card.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but not least, Darren.
Yeah, I totally get the frustration for Reece Bellotti. You know, I mean, for me as well as a fight fan, this would have been probably the fight of the card. Entertainment-wise, I think it'd been very good. Hopefully, we get to see it eventually in the future. You know, if the doctors have deemed Gomez not fit enough to fight, who can argue with the doctors? That's just the way it goes. Totally get the frustration, as I said, with Reece Bellotti, that all the training camp that he's done, then to be told you're not fighting. I do agree with what the guy said as well about for DAZN to bring him out and put him on the stage. Like, that was very, very bad timing. Don't know what else they expected they were going to get. The guy's just been told he's not fighting after going through a grueling training camp like he did. I'm not surprised at the reaction they got.
They got what they wanted, though, Darren. They got what they wanted.
Well, yeah.
Because we're all talking about it.
Brett, I thought it was poor TV, though. It wasn't a great look, Brett, was it? When he had value was squirming, wasn't it?
But think about the social media views today. Like it's coming up on all of our feeds. So DAZN probably got out of it what they wanted to get out of it. Sorry to cut you off, mate.
No, that's all right, mate. No, I get where you're coming from with that, and you know, any controversy like that does create views. We all know that. But for me, it was bad timing what they did. I weren't expecting them to get anything different than what they got from Reece Bellotti. But as I said, I think it would have been the fight of the night. Hopefully we get to see it in the future. But who knows? Bellotti now might not want to give Gomez the time of day. But if the doctors deem you unfit to fight, for me, it's bad timing the way it was, so close to fight. fight time. But if the doctors deem you're not fit enough to fight, like we say, this is the hurt game. You've got to go in that ring fully fit.
Darren, what's the point in having the doctors there if you're not going to listen to their advice, right? If you're not
exactly. Yeah, totally get that. And you know, Reece Bellotti, of course, he's going to have said things probably last night that when he's had time to think and reflect today, he's probably going to say, I was a bit stupid for saying that, or, you know, but we're all human. He was frustrated. He's got angry, kept bringing Bellew in it and, you know, saying to Bellew, what had you done, Bellew, as a fighter? Yeah. Bellew said he's piece worth. But if you're not fit enough to fight, like you say, if the result would have gone against him or anything bad would have happened, you'd have been talking about a whole different matter then. So hopefully we get it on in the future.
Does in that stage, can because he said if the doctor comes in, yeah, I'm sound, I'm all right. Can they actually do that at that level? Can they say I don't need checking over?
Oh, me, sorry.
Yeah. They can just say I'm all right.
Because once, from my point of view, if I you know your fighter, if I look at my fighter and I think there's something not right here.
Yeah.
There's something not right. So then I go to the doctor and I say, you know, can you come and just check him over? There's something not right. And if he walks in, doctor, and then Michael already said, no, I'm fine. Don't need checking over. Doctor would just say, most of the British Boxing Board doctors who I know would just say, right, you won't mind me checking you over then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're fine, you won't mind me checking you over.
Right.
Yeah. And then if obviously he refuses, the doctor would just go, well, there's a reason he's refusing. Yeah. So then the doctor would probably inform the promoter, inform the inspector. The inspector would come and say, you need to get checked over. If he still refused, inspector then would probably say, well, you're asking me to take a gamble that you're all right on your health. It's not happening. You don't get checked over, you don't fight.
I was going to say, whose call is it, Dad? Is it a doctor or is it the inspector? Whose call is it to pull the plug?
Oh, it's basically the doctor. The doctor would then, who deems whether you're healthy or not, not the inspector.
They've got a lot at stake, right? Because obviously, if anything was to happen, it's on their head, I'd assume.
Well, listen, if Michael wouldn't allow himself to be checked over, the inspector would be informed, the promoter would be informed, and then the inspector would basically lay the law down and say, you either get checked over or you don't fight, because we're not taking a chance that you aren't well and just on your say so. If you are well, you're not going to have any issues, are you? Just get checked over 5 minutes. So obviously then the doctor would say, yeah, it's fine, or no, he's not right. And then inspector would obviously pull that fight on the doctor's advice. But, you know, so there were no way of getting out of it. You know, I mean, had Michael tried to hide it for a couple of days, then he might have done, you know. That's what he might have done. And then when it comes to Kev Marie being with him and Michael Jennings being with him, they know their fighter. They'll know how he's been through all camp. So they'll have noticed if there was something a bit off with him. And I mean, I'm not an expert on kidney infections, but I presume I think they sap your energy, and, you know, I think it's just proper takes the energy out of you. So, yeah, they obviously knew, and fair play to them for speaking up.
Yeah. Okay, moving on then, guys. So we're going to move on to Campbell Hatton next. So, obviously, Eddie Hearns had some very interesting things to say post-fight. I think Hatton gave it all he had last night, but it just wasn't good enough. I think that's the honest truth of it. So I'm going to come to Darren first. So, Darren, first of all, give you a breakdown of how the fight went and your thoughts, and then what next for Campbell?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent fight again. And as you say, I think, you know, he wasn't found wanting for effort. He gave it everything he had. And Flint's just the guy who's got his number. When I look at like Campbell Hatton, the way his style of fighting is, I don't really see him sort of changing much going forward. But, you know, it comes down to the name of how we all know how he's got his career rolling so quickly the way he did with his father. But I don't know. I don't like it when fighters, young, they lose. Oh, that, you see some idiots on social media. That's it. He's done now. He's finished. You're not finished just because you've lost the. Okay, lose once, twice. You don't mean you're finished. And I hate that when we're in a culture now. When a fighter loses, that's it. They're done. It's not like that. Football teams lose, they carry on. So I don't like this thing where people say you're done. But I don't know how far he can go in the game. I don't really see where he goes next. Does he step down a level? But I don't know. It's a very, very tough one with Campbell Hatton.
I was looking at Flint's record. He's been beat twice, right? To two very, I don't want to say average, but the two people that have beat him are not exactly setting the world alight. Yeah. So I do wonder what level Campbell actually belongs at, Darren.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think it's very hard to. There's lots of fights where you can go, oh, they go down that route next, go down this route. Yeah. Campbell Hatton is one for me where he's stuck at a level where how it's going to be very, very hard, I believe, as a promoter for Eddie Hearn to take him in some kind of direction now. It's a difficult one.
Yeah. Coming to Orkan next. Thank you, Darren. Orkan, again, give us your thoughts on the fight and where you think Campbell's going next.
I thought that Campbell Hatton would come out better than he did when I had changed his trainers, and also Jimmy Joe Flint came from a loss into this fight. So it was a surprise that Campbell Hatton wasn't better last night for me. I thought that he should have done something different from the first fight.
Is it just a case, Orkan, that he's not good enough to do anything different?
Yeah, maybe it is that. Just that Jimmy Joe Flint come from a loss between these fights was a surprise that he came back and won the rematch too.
Okay, thank you very much. Brett, coming to you next. Same question, fella. Give us your thoughts on the fight and, where does Campbell go next?
I mean, look, out of these, it's different in that game when you've got a legend as a father. So we all heap all this pressure on like Darren just said, a young kid that ultimately, and it's okay, is LeBron's son going to be as good as him at basketball? The chances of that is not going to happen. But the bottom line is that we bash him because he's trying to be great. He probably doesn't need to box. He's had great sponsorships as well. He's probably been paid well by Eddie. The bottom line is he wants to box, and it is okay for us to all admit this, that he isn't good enough to be at the level that the country expects him to be based off his last name. He's just not good enough. Yeah, you can't blame the training team. Daz will tell you you ain't gonna change a fighter in 6 months or 5 months or however long he's been there. You might tweak some things, but you're gonna need years to get them to be where they need to be. If they've got fundamentals that they need to change. But I think it was said in the opening round of the commentary team, I think it was one of them said that when the anxiety kicks in, they'll just go back to type. And that's what he did. There was no head movement. He was flat-footed. He tried to have a tear up in the first few rounds. He probably thought he was attacking the body. He probably thought that was going to be enough for him. But he just got beat comfortably. And I'm the same as Darren. I feel bad that he has to wake up to all the abuse. At the end of the day, so what? We'll all tune in if he boxes again. We'll all watch him. We'll all root for him. We want him to do better. But he just, for me, is we're not talking about the next British superstar in Campbell Hatton.
Yeah, and that surname's definitely a burden to him, right?
It's heavy, isn't it? I mean, you look at Ben Eubank and stuff like that. None of these are ever going to get anywhere near their dads. None of them. They're just not. Their dads were superstars, and they're all earning money and getting careers out of it. And and Eubank has flashes of brilliance, and we don't know if Ben's going to be any good because he's not really fought anybody. And is he going to get his career ignited? Are we actually going to see if he's anything? But Ricky has got that fan base, and he's got the for a time, our generation on this call. Remember where you were on the Costa Tazoo night. Like, we all remember those nights, those big nights. Like, we all remember where we were. And that's what his dad created. And if he wants to have a go at it, why not? Let's get behind him. But he's just not going to be as good as what people expect him to be.
Okay, cheers, Brett. And coming to you, Daz, looking forward to hearing your take on it. To be honest, same question to you. Would you be putting your man Campbell and advising what to do next?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he showed some right art in that fight. I mean, and he never stopped trying. It wasn't a one-sided beating. He had his moments. I mean, this changing trainers thing, it's, sometimes it's got to be done, but I think you've sort of got to find a trainer who's the right fit for you. I'm not too sure what they've been doing in camp. I know he's not trained by Ben; he's trained by Barry. I'm just not too sure. And even in corner, I didn't hear things I was wanting to hear. I mean, all he was doing all fight were winging punches, and he was, it looked like he was slapping sometimes as well. No jab, no head movement, as Brett said. And when he he threw a single shot, he then looked up close. It looked like he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It looked like he were like putting his head down and looking, to grab, and it just looked very I can't even say amateurish, to be fair. But as much as I think that performance and the move trainers hasn't suited him, I do think he's got something you can't teach, which is art.
Yeah.
You can teach a jab, you can teach him to move your head. He seems to have an half decent chin on him as well. So maybe if he's listen, I'm not saying that they can't improve him, but I just don't think it seems like a good fit. So listen, with right training, he might do a little bit of something. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champ. I'm not saying he's going to be a British champ. I mean, his uncle Matthew lost 2 fights out of his first 14, I think. And look what he went on to do. And listen, he was carrying the burden of the HATTON name.
Yeah. Good point.
Even though Matthew was carrying, he's not as good as Ricky. He was carrying that. Campbell's probably got to carry he's not as good as his dad, and he's not as good as his uncle Matthew either. Do you know what I mean? So he's got a lot of pressure on him. He started off with a lot of pressure as well, being put on these massive cards.
Yeah.
And then they sort of stripped it back. I'd like to see him strip back again, go on some of these decent small hall shows. You know what I mean? And try and build him back up. But personally, I mean, I don't know what the training regime were and what they was doing with him, but he looked very, very disorganized. There were no sort of thought process to what he were doing. So, maybe he's going to have to do what fighters do and have a little think to himself and have a little search for another trainer. I don't know if he went to any other trainers before he went to that. But I personally don't think it seemed a very good fit.
In between rounds, you can hear Ben Davison telling him to take his head off the line, right? So that must have been something they've worked on, moving his head.
Yeah, it must have been. But I mean, you've got to drill it. And listen, they may well have done it. They may well have done it, but you've got to drill it. You've got to spend an entire session doing it, and then another session, and then another session.
Second nature, right?
Yeah, exactly. you know, listen, I've seen clips of him, and I'm not going to judge it on this, but I've seen clips of him on pads with Barry, and all you seem to see him doing is throwing big body shots. You know, no setups whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I could count on one hand yesterday how many straight punches he threw.
Yeah.
You know, it were all just winging shots, and half of them were cuffing with, you know, with inside at gloves. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I hope he does go back, and I hope he does come back better, because he seems a genuinely nice kid, to be fair, who's got a lot of pressure on him. So, you know,
it's a double-edged sword, though, doesn't it? Because he didn't ask for that surname, but it would have gained him some advantages as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it will have done. Of course, it will have done. It gained him the fact that he was signed by Matchroom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people say, he'd got no amateur experience. He did have some amateur experience. You know, I saw him fight as an amateur, and you know, he used his jab a lot more as an amateur, if I'm honest, from what I saw. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of pressure for him. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But I hope he goes back, regroups, and I hope he gets brought back slowly.
Okay, last topic of the night, then, guys. So we're going to move on to the headline. Jack Catterall wins, and who next? I'll be honest, there's something missing for me with Jack Catterall. I want to get excited about him, but there's something just missing for me. I don't know what it is, but I think he got Prograde a good time last night. I'll be honest with you. He had his spells in the fight as well, Prograde. I was quite impressed by him. But there's something missing for me, and I can't put my finger on it. But I'm going to come to Brett first. So, Brett, give us your breakdown of his performance, and who would you throw him in next in, which is the killer of the division?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look, you're right. I think I was watching the fight, and early on, Prograde looked dangerous, didn't he? And you're right. There is just something that you've got questions about, but it's almost like the way I view it is there's questions about Devin Haney. Like, does he have that star quality? He gets the job done, and he's not easy on everyone's eye. But last night, Jack Catterall showed me something in those later rounds. All right, it's an aging Prograde that's been in some wars. But I was impressed the way he set that 1-2 up down the pipe.
Yeah.
He had a little dress rehearsal, didn't he? Where he threw it, and like to see what the reaction was going to be, and then he was like, "Oh, brilliant! It's going to be that," and then boom, boom, and you know, I think that in terms of his performance, he showed a little bit of grit last night. Prograde was on one of those fights where how many more have I got where I can headline? How many more of these big nights have I got left in me? So he was fighting that way, and I was impressed with his spirit last night. But Jack got the job done. In terms of where I see him next, it's gone are the days now where, you know, if they want to get on these big Saudi cards, they're going to have to take the top boys. There's no more build-up fights, and I don't know if they could get him in the ring, but I'd like to see him in with Tio Lopez. And I know what everyone's thinking, that Tio will get him out of there early, but maybe he's just got a smart enough game plan that he could frustrate him enough to win it as a UD or something. But put him on the big shows now. Let's see what he's made of. I mean, he earned his dues against Taylor. He earned his dues. Yeah. You know, most people said he won.
I think we might have lost him, so we'll wait for Brett to
give him.
Oh, there you go, Brett. You're back. Go on.
I'm back. Sorry, boys. I was getting a call. Yeah, give him his dues. Let him have a go at some of these top boys. But for me, last night, I know what you're saying, Carl, mate, that there's something lacking, but he did impress me.
Okay, thank you very much, Brett. Moving on to Daz. Daz, same question to you, fella. Performance. I know the joy's been out for you in the past with Catterall as well. You've said so on the show that something wasn't quite right. So give us your thoughts, and where would you take him next?
I'm going to probably be a bit controversial here to some people. I thought Prograde last night were shocking. I thought Prograde last night were a shadow of what I've watched. You know, he were throwing desperation shots from first round.
And falling over.
Yeah, he looked like he got no balance. He were, basically running after Catterall sometimes. His distance judging were terrible. It was shocking. Sad to see him like that, to be fair. But saying that, after 6 rounds, I had him 5-1 up. I just couldn't make a case for. I mean, the first round, I gave it to Catterall being generous, and then Catterall did nothing. He were doing nothing, and Prograis were, he seemed to be dictating and doing the slightly better work. I'm not saying he were doing the massively better work. He were doing the slightly better work. He dropped Catterall. I'll tell you what, though, brilliant corner work from Jamie Moore. Absolutely brilliant corner work. Jamie Moore says, "Listen, you've got to, get involved. You can't, you can't be letting him run away with this." And Jack dug his heels in, got that double knockdown. And yeah, I thought he squeaked it. I thought Jack squeaked it by a round maybe 2, with being generous. It's hard. Listen, I like the kid as well, but you cannot enter fights and give the first 6 rounds away. You can't enter fights with the elite with that attitude.
Can you imagine Devin Haney does?
Hey, Andy Lee, right, hit it perfectly, because you got the other 2 commentators or whatever who were basically cheering Catterall when he jabbed thin air. Do you know what I mean? And then they were saying, "Oh yeah, he looks so calm and composed." Andy Lee jumped straight on it and he said, "No, he doesn't. As soon as Prograis looks like he's attacking, Catterall looks like he's panicking." And he did for me. He looked. Listen, that were almost a male version of Sky Nicholson. That for the first 6 rounds, it was shocking. And I like Jack, and I've got a lot of respect for Jamie Moore, and Nigel, but I think Jack is a product of absolutely fantastic matchmaking at the minute.
And timing.
Yeah, brilliant matchmaking.
Yeah.
However, I will say, if he does fight one of these top boys and he produces, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up. I'll say to him on social media, "I got it wrong, mate. Sorry, well done. I owe you a pint." Do you know what I mean? But you can't do that against Haney, against any of them, any champions, to be fair. Lopez.
Does Eddie Earn was in full salesman pitch when he was saying afterwards that he thinks Jack Catterall might be the best in this division. I was like, come on.
Mate, the thing is as well, right? You got Tony Bellew. He had him winning it by about 7 as well. You know what I mean? Come on. Listen, we need channels as well. This is when boxing gets into a bit of a bad name as well. You need a boxing channel where your commentators aren't scared to lose the job because of what they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get a Teddy Atlas on the zone or something.
Yeah.
Hey, Teddy Atlas. Do you know what I mean?
Paulie Mananaja.
You know what I mean?
Paulie Mananaja. Get him on.
Let's stop this cheerleading culture that we've got. At the end of the day, I'll say to anyone, I'll say to Jack, I'll say to Jamie, if you didn't think that Regis had won them first, got the better of them first 6 rounds, I had him 5-1 up, then I don't know what you're looking at, because he did nothing. I was so surprised. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what is he doing? But like Brett said, I will give him massive credit that he dug his heels in and, did a bit more. But is that because Prograis were fading? Could he feel Prograis fading?
It's an interesting take, Daz, listening to you talk it through, because I looked at it like he showed me something. But actually, when you're analysing it there, saying that Prograis was being a bit wild and he wasn't on it, like, I just thought he'd come back into the second half. I agree. He messed the first half of the fight up, but second half he dug his heels in, like I said, good corner work, and then he went to work late on. So that's why he impressed me.
Yeah.
But hearing you talk it back, you know, you're making a lot of good points above. Was Progray's timing out? Was, you know, and if he stuck a 5-1 lead and his timing was out, then maybe it wasn't as good.
Can you imagine, Brett, if that's Aney on the other side of the ring, or it's Lopez, or you ain't getting 5-1, you ain't pulling that fire.
No, Haney's pinging him all over, and if Lopez drops you with a jab, it's being followed up with a body shot and an overhand. Yeah. So, like, yeah, you're right, but the reality is that, you know, he got in my eyes, the right man won.
Yeah, I think I might have been a bit super harsh on him, to be honest, Brett.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Progray as well. It was single shots all night.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember thinking a bit like, will Progray's legs last the distance? At that pace of at first 6, there were no pace whatsoever. And, you know, single shots pretty much, or 1 or 2s, you know, 1-2s basically. I just thought that it didn't look great either early on, when basically it looked like Progray was running after him.
Yeah, he did.
And Catterall was like, listen, it didn't look great for me that Progray were almost running after him. And it didn't look great that Catterall was making him run after him. But he weren't doing it in a good way. It's like he was running off. You know,
did he win a world title, Catterall does?
Depends who he fights, mate. Do you know what I mean? It depends who he fights. Listen, he's got something. He's got some talent. He's awkward, southpaw. You know, he's got something. There's no two ways about it. And, you know, he's where he stepped on, you know, stepped it up a little bit. But let's be right. I mean, I'll stand by it. Progray were awful.
Yeah.
That was an awful Progray. His timing was off. His distance was off. You know, listen, he threw a punch at one point and spun himself round and fell on the floor. But he damaged his ankle.
Yeah.
And then
commenting the side, Dads, from your favourite matchmaker, Jack Gladman, taking credit. He said he was the only one on Thursday who said Flint would win.
Yeah, well done.
So I think he wants a pat on the back for that one. He said Lopez isn't 5-1 up, as if you start that slow, you get stopped.
Yeah, fair point.
He goes on to say, I don't think that was the best of Catterall.
What was the best of Catterall? Have we ever seen what we can think's the best of Catterall? Because there's always flaws with him. You know, listen, the best of Catterall were probably the first Taylor fight.
Yeah.
For me, you know, I thought it was very good in that. Listen, it was good in the rematch as well, but it wasn't. You know, for me, it weren't a one-way thing.
No, I thought that was a close fight.
Yeah, it weren't a one-way thing. I thought Catterall deserved it, but he deserved the first one as well. Be quite a bit for me.
Brett, do you think he wins a world title, Brett?
It's just what Dad said. It depends who he fights.
I can't draw him on it. Look, I can't draw him on it.
No. All I will say is I don't know why and I know everyone's got their opinions probably different to me. I think I'm comparing him to Haney, but what I'm saying is that he could find his way of winning a UD by just doing enough to nick things, you know, like, and just be that awkward style. Because Taylor found him super awkward. Taylor's, you know, I personally think Taylor's a better fighter than him, but he couldn't figure him out. So when they're at that level, can he just be that awkward that he could work his way to a world title? That's what I will say.
Do you know the worst thing about yesterday as well? It showed the way to beat him. It showed the way to catch him. Do you know, like feinting and making him go? Andy Lee broke it down perfectly. Andy Lee said, when he's set, feint, make him move, and when he moves, he can't counter you.
He looked awkward on the back foot, Daz. Like I'm not saying he's a forward coming fighter, but when Progray was running him back, he didn't like it. He didn't like that. But you know, if you from what I watched yesterday, I mean, Aney, Lopez. I mean, I've not really seen much of Liam Parrow, to be fair, but by all accounts, he's a very good fighter. But if you've got a fighter who feints on Jack Catterall
and makes him move. Because that's when Prograis were catching him, when he were twitching, fainting, and then we just weren't throwing enough punches. Yeah. So to me, if you do that, if you feint and show, that was the way to beat him. Feint, make him move, and then he's not good. He's not in a position to counter you. Andy Lee said it perfectly. And then if you unload punches on him, listen. I don't see him beating Aine. I don't see him beating Lopez. I'm not sure whether he could beat Parot because I've not seen enough of Liam Parot. You guys have probably seen more of Liam Parot than me.
And a bit like what Jack in the side said, Hitchens is another shot, isn't it? He's been at the top of this division.
I've seen a little bit of Hitchens and he looks a decent fighter. I think there's an interim WBC champion as well. I can't think of his name. But
Paulo,
yeah. So, could he? I mean, listen. All that yesterday, all that talk, were, from earning Sam Jones is the best. I mean, and do you know what though? I'll just finish with this. All young fighters watch Regis Prograis after that fight. That's how you take your defeat.
That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was more Regis Prograis thinking to him, saying, "Yeah, I've not got it anymore." Because like what 6 years ago, the Regis Prograis that fought Taylor I think Jack would have been out of there by 8. To be fair,
yeah.
So I think that were Regis sort of saying, "Yeah, you know what? I'll give Jack his props. It's his, his time. I'll bully him up, let him go with some confidence." Do you know what I mean?
He said, Daz, didn't he? That I've had my time in the sun.
Yeah.
I thought that was very classy.
Yeah, and it were very, very classy. Do you know what I mean? Very, very classy. Yeah. So
okay, thank you very much. Moving on to Orkan. Orkan, same question for you. Performance and also what were your thoughts on your fight breakdown?
I was very disappointed of the fight in total, especially the first 6 rounds. I didn't understand what Jack Catterall did in the first 6 rounds. I didn't thought that Regis Prograis did very much better. It was a very poor fight for me until the round 7, round 8. And then Jack Catterall came back and won the fight by a couple of rounds. So I was disappointed about both fighters' performance last night.
Do you think that he wins the world title, Jack Catterall?
I think he has a good chance to win a world title, and he will fight the winner, Parot Hutchins, next. And I believe that could be the best chance to win a world title.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Orkan, coming to Darren last. So Darren, same question for you. Break down the fight, and who do you think he fights next?
Well, you said you can't quite put your finger on about why you can't, what you sort of like lacking for Jack Catterall. And I think the one word to sum it up is excitement. He's just not that exciting to watch, in all honesty. He could win. I do think, I stressed this before the fight, I think he took Prograis at the right time. But I agree with the lads. I thought he was very poor first 5 or 6. Definitely come on strong in the fight. Possibly because of where Prograis is at now. He's long in the tooth. He's coming towards the end, and I think that's the reason why Jack Catterall won the fight. It wasn't a good spectacle at all, but for me, it was like Jack Catterall pretty much doing what Jack Catterall does. But I do agree with Brett in this fight, because he had someone like Regis Prograis coming at him. He did look a bit uncomfortable on the back foot. But going forward, I mean, stylistically, the worst fight I think you could watch is Haney and Catterall, because that fight for me would be a terrible watch.
I think I think that would be a bit of a mismatch. I think Haney would absolutely box his ears off. Honestly.
Yeah, I would fancy Devin Haney to win that, but it's just I don't want to see that fight because I just don't think it'll be a good watch at all. Personally, I think if he's going to win a world title, I would probably target Lopez for the simple reason being Lopez has his off nights. I don't think he's consistent enough.
And he likes it too, don't he?
And I was just going to say, Catterall for me does fight like not necessarily better, but I think that the entertainment factor would be more in that fight, having someone like Lopez come in at Catterall than the way Devin Haney's tactics would be against Jack Catterall, because Jack Catterall likes to just try and stick and move himself.
I'll tell you
so
what. Sorry to
go on.
I'll tell you what, right? And call me, guys, if you think I'm wrong. But on what you just said there is true. Do you think that Catterall would have a better chance of nicking a bore fest with Haney over here than he would getting in a tear up with Lopez? Because I think Lopez got power to knock him out.
I think.
Both. Now Haney, if I can well see the first 6 or 7 rounds going the same as that,
he wouldn't be able to live with Haney.
Yeah, but Haney's not. You know, Haney's like that as well.
But Catterall wouldn't land on Haney. It would be nowhere near him for me.
Would Haney land significantly on Catterall?
I think so.
Jab his head off.
He likes to dip the shoulder a lot, doesn't he, Catterall? He always dips that shoulder.
Yeah. See, I don't like his lead hands as well. His lead hands like bent.
I think he's got a better chance beating Lopez than he has Haney.
Darren's right. Darren's right, because he can have an off night, and let's have it right. We just said, everyone's just said it, or Darren, you just said it. Like he's boring. He's not good on the eye. Lopez might come into that fight like he does every once in a while, going, all I got to do is turn up and land that left hand, and that would be his way in. Whereas I agree, Haney would stand in the center of the ring and just jab all night long. Yeah. But who knows? Who knows?
I don't think Catterall would land on Haney at all. He would hardly land on him.
Perhaps it's a bit harsh and be like say Catterall is boring, because he has been in some decent fights, especially the first Josh Taylor one. But I think he needs that opponent to bring it out of him as well. But he's a good boxer, Jack Catterall. I don't think he's poor or anything like that. He's a good boxer. I just don't think, like we said about Sky Nicholson, her fights, aren't riveting experience to watch, but she's good at what she does. But again, last night, Catterall, first 5-6 rounds, I don't really get what the tactics were, but I think he come on into the fight because of where Regis Prograis at now. He ran out of steam. I thought the scorecards were massively too wide for me. I don't think it was nowhere near anything.
Darren, sorry to jump in, but he could have any opponent, because he's second in the WBO, 4th in the Ring magazine, 3rd in the IBF, 2nd in the WBC. So it could be anyone, couldn't it?
They'll probably do the Paro Hitchens winner next. They'll probably do that. That's probably the route they'll go down. It's an easy one for Eddie to make. Where's
it happen? In Australia or America? Because is Catterall a big draw? That's another question. Is he a ticket seller? Something tells me not, to be honest.
Well, that fight, put it this way, that fight last night, I think the new arena holds something like 23,000. I don't think it was as low as what some said, but some people talking there was 5,000 there. I think it was a bit more than that. I'd say there was about 8 or 9. I would, but I'm not 100%.
We've got CAMPBELL on that.
I checked the ticket sales and it was about around 8 to 9.
See.
Well, I did think that because of like the lower tier was pretty much full, but you should be doing more sales than that. And like you said, Campbell's on the show.
He'll have to be the right dance partner for him to sell out as an arena. He'd have to be the right dance partner.
I agree, bro. Yeah. I'm not sure he's a ticket seller, is he?
Well, it's just because of what Darren has just been saying. Like, to be honest with you, listening to you boys talk, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the fight, because I was in transition yesterday. I was in between flights, and I watched part of the
Look
fight.
at him,
got
the
off
old showbiz boy. You come a long way from Nottingham, haven't you?
but,
You used to get on a tram or train when he was in Nottingham. Now he's private jetting it about.
me, I used to thumb a lift, mate. Don't worry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it back because I saw a little bit of something different to what you lot seen, and maybe I just didn't watch it as intently because I thought he did show me something in the second half of the fight. He showed a bit of balls and he showed a bit of bite down on the gum shield.
We'll blame the Wi-Fi signal on your private jet, mate. You might want to have a word with him about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish, mate.
So we both think he's got to pack his gum shield and suitcase for his next fight. Then, because I can imagine him Eddie take him over to America or Australia, where he's building his profile in them two territories, right?
If he fights like that for the first 6 rounds, mate, against anyone in America, he gets booed out of the building.
Oh yeah.
What did they say after? Like I've seen the reaction from Prograis and how classy he was. But Sam Jones is as whatever. Let's not go there. But what were they saying? Were they making out that he's this world class operator then?
Eddie Hearn said he's possibly the best. He could possibly be the best in that weight class. Didn't he? Words to that effect. We don't know how good he is.
Yeah, he said that as well. Bellew, he said that as well. To be fair, I think Jack's quite a grounded kid. To be fair,
I do,
and I think Jack probably cringes a bit when they said that. Listen, he's up there. He's in the top 5.
You can tell though with the crowd, like when he was starting to land them big shots, you can just tell the tone in the crowd. They're itching him to get that knockout victory or something like it because he's not that fighter, is he? He's just not that type of fighter.
And do you know what?
Can tell the crowd itching for it.
You know what, Daz? You know what shows it as well? When Prograis twisted his ankle, dislocated his ankle, apparently.
Yeah.
Couldn't put no weight on it, could I?
Didn't even jump on him.
No.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Quite alarming, to be fair.
I think Andy Lee said that, I think Andy Lee said about how he's not jumping on him and that. That just shows, like, if you've got a guy like that in front of you, like, hobbling around the ring and you're not jumping on someone, you're never going to do it, are you?
No, because make no mistake, Prograis was still trying to take Catterall's head off.
Yeah.
So he could have stopped him. Round.
Yeah.
But he just, he's a very frustrating fighter, Catterall. I mean, Sky Nicholson. I give Sky Nicholson a bit of grief, but she does what she does from first round. But she's winning the fight. She's winning the rounds. She'll be 6 rounds up. She doesn't give rounds away. I mean, that first 6 or 7 rounds were, I was like, what's going on here? What's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that against the top boys. But
definitely not.
If it's in your nature to be worried about someone's punch, I just thought to myself, he's like he's running away.
What I don't get though, in all honesty, like what I don't get about him, if he's that wary, why? He ain't one of them fighters you go, oh, he's got a suspect chin. So I don't really get it. Like he showed, like at times last night, his chin's pretty solid. Like I did catch him. I mean, him with that stiff jab that landed a bit awkward like that, and he went, he took a touchdown. But he's not one of them fighters where, it was a great shot. But like he's not one of them like fighters where you go, oh, he showed before his chin's a bit suspect. So I don't really get it with him.
You see, you've got a lot of people as well, like Hearn and Bellew and everyone saying that Catterall's a banger, an absolute banger. I don't believe that for 1 minute.
No, he's not.
I don't believe that for 1 minute. So, listen, to me, that's just putting him under undue pressure.
That 1-2 does down the pipe that put Prograis on his arse. He wasn't buzzed or anything, was he? He jumped straight back.
Straight back up, yeah.
Textbook. It was just a textbook, and that's what he is. He's a very good boxer. He's sharp and crisp, and put him on his backside. He got up, was all right, and then he caught him with another shot, put him over. He got up, and he never looked in trouble.
No.
He just looked faded even more. But I don't think. See what they try and do. If a fighter's not a puncher, they'll try and make out you're a puncher to try and gather some interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not got the power, to me, he's not got the power to trouble any of the top lads. I think probably Lopez could probably just walk through him. You know, I mean, there's no way that Catterall should be trading with Lopez and any of them guys. I mean, he should just do what he does, you know, use his boxing.
Well, we thought that we thought, just to play devil's advocate, we thought that with Josh Taylor in the first fight. We thought this is a mismatch. He's just gonna, and then he got in there with him, frustrated him. As I say, I controversially, I actually had Taylor winning the fight, and I'm hammered for it.
What, the first one?
Yeah, I got hammered for it. But you just said it there, and it's really important about this. I was listening to it with American commentators.
Yeah.
Right, and they did 100% did sway me. And then I went back and rewatched it. But and then he goes in the second because he's been in there and he's felt it. He just wasn't concerned with Taylor, but we all thought Taylor was going to walk through.
Yeah.
I just think stylistically he's got more of a chance with Lopez than he has. And
probably has.
I agree with Carl. Like if he sits him up, if he gets in there with Haney and Haney just throws that double jab,
he won't
just be a jab fest.
What do you think all here about Josh Taylor signing for Matchroom's 3-fight deal?
Is that definitely done?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is
Tyler
really
Catterall
interesting.
3.
Yeah, Taylor Catterall 3, yeah.
What is that path, you reckon? What is that path?
It's not announced, but sources that I have seen.
Sources, breaking news. I must get a thing at the bottom where breaking news.
That the source is a guy that you had on the show 3-4 weeks ago.
Is that a build up? Is that a build up for Conor Benn? Is that kind of is that the name? I don't even see that.
It could be there. It could be a build up for Conor Benn.
Do we think Conor Benn's serving a silent ban?
He is serving a silent
100%.
ban.
Yeah,
100%.
Allegedly.
No allegedly about it. These are my views, not the views of Last Go Boxing. Conor Benn is serving a silent ban.
Court case down after Santorini, let's put it that way.
Yeah, Conor Benn is serving a silent ban, tell you.
And that's where they got it wrong, because as did when Baumgartner got done, she did the same, didn't she? She just shut up, served a silent ban, didn't address it in the media, and just come back and got back to business.
And White's done similar.
Yeah, they just served and just come not entertain the media. Conor Benn fights every media outlet that's going, and then but right now he's 100% serving a ban, isn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, any other comments, guys, before I bring the show to an end? Just shy of the hour mark. Anything else you want to discuss before I bring it to an end?
No, all good.
All good.
No, I think Akan, did you want to discuss a flyweight unification? I think you mentioned.
Yeah, on Thursday on the preview show.
All right, yeah.
So you want to save that for Thursday then, or can you?
Yeah, and it's very interesting for Nicola Hopwell too. That fight I mean, for the future for Nicola.
Alan is in Fundora, isn't it?
Yeah, Fundora Alanis.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
undisputed flyweight title in Las Vegas.
By the way, Mr. Medcalf, congratulations on the Hopewell win, because I haven't spoken to you since then. Great performance.
You watched it?
I watched it back when I landed back, yep. So, job done right, tick it off.
Did all right, didn't she?
Yep. But nice to hear Dennis Hobson talk about that 3-fight deal that he's signed, and he's got big plans. So,
yeah.
I'm sure you'll hold him to account.
Yeah, just a bit.
But no, I thought it was a very mature performance. That's the word I'd use, a very mature performance. I thought she did very well. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, guys, I'm going to bring the show to an end. So thank you to Brett for joining us in the middle of his jet set lifestyle. It is much appreciated, Brett. Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Ashton for joining us from the West Midlands. Thank you to Orkan, all the way from Scandinavia.
Thank you.
Thank you to Coach Medcalf from just up the road. This has been Last Bell Boxing, proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. Back again Thursday, 7 p.m. All can send me the details and I'll put a caption up for your little segment that you want to do. See you all Thursday.